Welcome back to your Visionary Podcast. I'm your host, Visionary CJ, and today we have a special episode for you. We're going to hear from my friend and fellow writer, Jerra Latrice. And before I bring her in, I want to give you all a insight into her life and what she's doing so far. And so for Jerra, writing has been a natural gift for her always. Her sixth grade English teacher once proclaimed that if she keeps writing, one day that she'll be reading her own books. And eventually her teacher's words came into fruition. Jerra purchased a Birth Your Book course from Tony Gaskins Academy, and she self-published her first book, I Was Bitter, Now I'm Better. And since the release of her empowering and candid piece of art, she has been featured on several podcasts, radio interviews. She's spoken on panels and was featured at the Essence Festival in New Orleans and the Black Women's Expo in Atlanta. After much success with her book and helping others behind the scenes, Jerra started Gifted with the Pen. She, along with her team, provides expert editing and ghostwriting services to writers to enhance their manuscripts. As Proverbs 18:16 states, a man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men. Jerra Latrice and her team are truly gifted with the pen and excited about serving future authors. And without further ado, I want to welcome Jerra. How you doing today, Jerra?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the warm welcome and introduction. How are you?
You're very welcome. I'm doing great, feeling blessed, can't complain. I'm excited to have this conversation. I think there are so many different ways we can go with this. I want to hear your story about just what kind of ignited you to write your book, and I also want to hear about just how you navigated into the ghostwriting realm, because I do have a lot of writers who listen into this podcast, and so I want to make sure that it's valuable for them.
Yeah, so great questions. So I was writing my book. When I started my book, I wasn't trying to write a book. It first started off as a bunch of journal entries. Then I let my cousin read them, and she, strongly recommended that I make, turn it into a book because I had been through some things, gotten through some things, and she thought that my book would help people who are, who have gone through what I've been through. In terms of relationship issues, having a lot of distrust in men, having low self-esteem, and just putting up with things I shouldn't have been putting up with. So I was literally bitter. Now I'm better. So that title came to me just randomly while I was sitting in traffic one day in Atlanta. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's it. So I had to find a pencil or pen and paper and write that down because, I've been working on it without a title for a while. And I'm like, Lord, just send me a title, one that's fitting for what I'm talking about in my book. So, that came to me. But to answer your question, I know I kind of went around the block and came back around. But, my book started initially for me to help women who have been heartbroken or who are currently heartbroken and just want to get past that, that bitterness that they're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I don't know if this is true, but I feel like a lot of writers, their work like stems from pain almost. Mm-hmm. And for me personally, like writing is just a way to just get clear my mind and just, express what's on my heart. But I think when it comes to like writing a book, that's a whole different kind of animal in itself. So how did you like build up the confidence to say, okay, I'm going to take all of my pain that I've been, pouring out on this paper, these journal entries, and I'm going to form it into a book? So I'm sure there was like a lot of, anxiety around that maybe, right? But how did you kind of build up that confidence?
Yeah. So the main thing that was hindering me was people who would be reading my book and knew that I was talking about them. But it wasn't me so much talking about them. I was just honestly telling my truth. But just me wondering what they would think about reading my book. But I had to get over that because, again, I was telling my truth. And I just kind of reached out to them and let them know. Well, first I asked them, is it okay if I talk about this in my book? And, the purpose is not to, slander you or anything like that. It's just to share what happened so that I can walk the reader through the journey of how I got from being bitter to becoming better. So gotcha. Once I got past that, it was smooth sailing.
Nice. That's awesome. And so you said your cousin gave you the idea of turning your journal entries into a book. So what was that? What was the first step for you?
Honestly, purchasing Tony Gaskins' course, because she was one that also mentioned, in addition to me writing a book, she's like, there's this author or speaker and relationship coach named Tony Gaskins. This was way back in 2016. I had heard about him, but I didn't know who he was, in full extent until I researched him. So yeah, I purchased his course, watched it maybe 2 times before I took notes. And then I started taking notes and just implementing what he taught in his course entitled Birth Your Book.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm a strong believer in investing in yourself and paying for those resources that can, get you where you want to go.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome.
Because we can't do things on our own. I could have researched it and pieced some things together on YouTube University or whatever, but I figured it's best for me to invest in an expert that's already been through it, been through that book.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it just kind of saves you, mistakes and missteps and time. Yeah, that's a big one, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. And then so you wrote your book, and when did you start doing your editing and ghostwriting? Like, what was that time range like?
Yeah. Okay. So going back to Tony Gaskins again. So after I had wrote my book was released actually in 2017. So I took a break from dating for a while to focus on also earning my master's degree after my book was released. So I have slowly, got my feet wet with dating again, and when I earned my master's, and I dated this guy. And he, everything was going great. And out of the blue, he just ghosted me. I don't know what happened. We never argued. And, it was just cool.
Random.
Yeah. Very random. So I didn't know how to take that because I had already written a book. I was bitter now and better. And I didn't want to go back to that bitter place because of what he did. So I booked a session with Tony for relationship coaching. And, he shared some things with me. I won't get into all that right now. But during our conversation, he asked me what I did for a living. And I told him that, I have a book and I help people like behind the scenes. I wasn't publicizing this back then. I help people behind the scenes become authors, self-publish their books, and I edit. And he's like, I've been praying for a new editor because the one we have currently, she's moved on to do other things. So that's how that started. He encouraged me or coached me to start doing it more often and publicizing it and putting some things on social media instead of, hiding behind the scenes and working on friends' books and things like that. So he started giving me clients that took his Birth Your Book course. And that's when the wheels started really rolling with me doing more editing and ghostwriting.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I love it again how you just invested in yourself, and you got a reward from it. It's shout out to Tony. And that's actually how we met. Disclaimer for the audience. I did the same thing. I booked a session with Tony to get his advice on like business. And he told me about Jerra and said that she was just an awesome human being and that we would probably work well together. And we linked up and now we're here. So shout out to Tony. And when you started your ghostwriting or your editing services, what were some of the biggest challenges?
So before I answer that question, can I just talk about how, it's crazy how life comes around full circle because
let's talk about it.
Yes. So I mentioned Tony before and how I took his Birth Your Book course, got over my relationship hurt. Turn around, I got hurt again, but I, didn't allow that hurt to stop me from pursuing my purpose and, being stuck like how it was before the book was released. But it's just crazy how, life happens in full circle. And now, I've invested in his first course and now I'm, taking on some of his clients that took your Birth Your Book course. So that's just nothing but God.
Yeah, it makes me think about how in your bio I read the Proverbs verse. You know, your gift will make room for you and put you in front of great men. Like my mom has always told me that. You know, since I was a kid, and it took some time, just I guess me getting older, to really understand and just see how that has manifested in my life,
Yeah.
and in your life too. So that's pretty dope.
Yeah. It's been my gift since I was 12 or 13 in sixth grade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to talk about that because for me, like writing has been my gift too. But growing up, for me, I only thought like entertainment or sports was the only way to really be successful or working for somebody. Was it the same for you? Like, did you know that there was a business that you could start in writing?
Not back then, not when I was, in middle school. I just kind of held on to what my teacher told me when she said, one day I'll be reading one of your books. I just like, okay, I said that, I listened to what she said. Like, I didn't think too much of it until I got older and I was in college, and I took this creative writing course, and my instructor was also an author. So I started getting close to her and just asking a lot of questions, how she got into becoming an author. And it was kind of something I had on the back burner. But yeah, I didn't know that you could make a career out of that, out of being an author or a writer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting, and it's cool how I guess people have affirmed your gift throughout the years, and I always find that cool because some people, like some of my peers, are struggling to find their gift and their purpose. And one of the questions I ask is like, okay, so what do other people tell you that you're good at?
Mm-hmm.
So if like writing is one of those things that you constantly hear, like, okay, yeah, you're a great writer. I'm going to read your books one day. Like all those are affirmations and kind of hints at what your purpose may be.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Did you feel like that throughout the years?
Yeah, definitely. Because even after middle school and throughout high school and college, I would make straight A's on all my writing assignments. So I knew that it was a gift of mine, but I was also brainwashed growing up to, go to school, get your degrees, and get a good job, and then retire. But nobody really ever taught me to pursue entrepreneurship in terms of becoming a writer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And then speaking on entrepreneurship, back to the ghostwriting question, what was some of the beginning challenges when you decided, okay, I'm going to go in the world with this, saying that I'm a ghostwriter and editor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I had a lot of mindset blocks, confidence issues, because I was working on people's books that I knew, friends, former coworkers, and people I went to college with. So by me working with Tony and him sending me people's books that I have never met before, that frightened me and that scared me. So yeah, that was the biggest challenge. Just me being in my own head, I had to get past that. And once I started getting the feedback, that he would share with me, and that the authors I work with would share with me, I'm like, okay, I stressed out for nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's real. And what's some advice that you would give to someone who's kind of at that early stage to where they're fearful about working on somebody else's book?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the main thing you have to tell yourself is, you were given this project for a reason, and just get out your own, out your own head, and just work on it little by little. Because also another thing with me too, when he would send me, when I would get books that were like 80 pages, 60 pages, I would look at it as a whole instead of breaking it down. Like, so I edit 10 pages today, 10 pages tomorrow, etc. Like that. And then by the end of the week, I'm done, instead of just looking at everything. You have to do everything all in one day or 1 or 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of breaking it down.
Very cool, very cool. And then when it comes to your process, a few episodes ago, I talked about like my ghostwriting process, and I gave people access to it at process.visionarycj.com. But I want to hear your process, if you're okay with sharing that. Like, what's your process when you get a client to actually go through the process of ghostwriting someone's book?
Yeah, so I have a process also, and thank you for, you shared your process with me before
Yeah.
this past summer. I'm like, oh, okay, that was nice. I like that. So I developed my own process.
I love it. Love it.
It's the 3E process. So it's engage, enhance, and edit. So I get them to engage in conversation. They do most of the talking, and of course, I listen, make notes, ask questions, and then I enhance their story by just elaborating more or getting them to elaborate more by asking those probing questions, and then the descriptive questions too. So if they're talking about something that they've been through in the past, I ask them to describe, what the room looked like, what was that person wearing, things of that nature. It's just better for the reader on that term. And then the editing process. So when I ghostwrite, they do get one round of edits, and I don't do the edits. I take my eyes off of it once I finish ghostwriting it. So I send it to my team member, and then she edits it. So yeah,
Cool.
it's engage, enhance, and edit.
I love that. The 3 E's. That's dope. Engage, enhance, edit. I love that. And that's cool how you said that once you're done enhancing, you take your eyes off of it and let someone else edit. Because I gave that advice as well before, and so I'm glad you kind of just affirmed that. Like that's kind of the right way to go,
Right.
for sure. And then when it comes to ghostwriting, what are some maybe what are some like limiting beliefs that someone may have about ghostwriting, and then how do you break that limiting belief?
Yeah, so I just had someone actually with a limiting belief who thought that her story wasn't important enough. Because she hasn't been through certain things, but she has a great has a great background working in HR. So I encouraged her to talk about some HR tips. I don't want to share too much. That's why I'm like hesitant.
That's all good.
The confidentiality thing. But yeah, instead of her deciding to talk about her life, I encourage her to talk about her career and give readers tips on how they can climb the corporate ladder. So I think everyone has a story to tell. It doesn't have to be about your life.
Yeah. Nope. I agree 100%. And have you found it like, have you found that there's a lot of people who are interested in writing books, but just don't want to, or don't have the time? Like what's that been like? Have you been surprised by the amount of people and just the stories?
Honestly, I have been getting authors that have a desire to write because, we're in the midst of a pandemic. People have more time and they want to use that time, I guess, wisely and share their story. And also it's a great source of income as well, side income for some people.
Yeah, 100%. And then kind of talk about, if you're comfortable sharing this, like about your journey, because when you first started, you were still working in corporate America, right? And I'm currently in corporate America, but now you're free from that life, correct?
That is correct. It'll be a whole week on Monday. I don't know when you're posting this episode, but I resigned. I put in my 2-week notice on January 11th, and my last day was January 25th.
Amazing. Yeah, and so talk about that. I want you to talk about that too, and kind of just give some encouragement to the audience, because I know like a lot of early stage like writing entrepreneurs, I guess if that's the word, will start out working in corporate America with the goal of just building up enough revenue or just enough revenue streams to be able to exit from that life. So what's some encouragement that you can like give to them?
Yes. So again, this goes back to using your time wisely. So when you're at work, or a lot of you may be working virtually now, but just find those little pockets of time where you can sit down, write, organize your thoughts. For me, I was still in the office back when I was ghostwriting. When I was starting my ghostwriting and editing journey. So instead of having lunch with coworkers and just talking about, random things here and there. I would close myself up in my office, write, or I would go to my car and write if I was, interrupted. But then I'd also wake up an hour before my alarm clock. I called this my power hour, where I would first meditate and then write. It didn't matter, how much I was writing, as long as I got something on paper or in my computer. And then I would stay up maybe 2 hours later to write also. So it just comes with, time blocking and utilizing your time wisely.
Yeah. That's a big one. It sounds like discipline too, like having a discipline to actually do that. Because I'm sure a lot of times you were like tired, especially, taking a break or after work, having that energy to write.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I will point out, I didn't do this every day, but most days is when I would do this. And then I always incorporated an all-nighter. So on Thursdays, I would find that I had more energy than usual. So I would just stay up all night on, Thursday into Friday morning, because I guess on Friday I looked at it as like, oh, it's Friday, it was the weekend, finally off work. That's how I found the energy to stay up. Implement that one-nighter every week.
I might need to start doing that. I like that. So you still went to work Friday morning?
Yes. Yeah.
Ooh, that's tough. but I get it though, because it's like, but Friday you have more energy anyways, because it's like, oh, it's the weekend.
Mm-hmm. And for us in the office, Friday was always our short day. Like we had this schedule set where, Fridays we worked from 9 to 4. Then every other day was 8 to 5. So Friday was always a short day anyway.
Gotcha. Yeah, I really like that. I'm gonna think about implementing that, because that's just like a big chunk of time. That's maybe like added 6 hours, 6 to 7 hours. Staying up. Dang, I like it. I think that's cool.
Then you just sleep, on Friday night and just sleep in until Saturday morning.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're probably going to do that anyway, right? Like take a long nap after you get home Friday and sleep in. I love that. And that's all for this episode. Stay tuned for part 2 next week. As always, peace and love.